Hi everyone, it's Michelle Bursell, and I'm here with you today to ask you, so what's your excuse? And the reason why I'm asking this is because I'm hearing a lot of stories from people lately about what they're buying into when life isn't going exactly as you have planned. And so there's always something that we're telling ourselves is the reason why that is. And this is our victim story, actually. I have one, you have one, we all have them because it's really an indicator that we're ready to grow and evolve. And so we need to look at what is it that we're telling ourselves as to why our life isn't going how we want it to. And this is really important because what we'll see is that there's some story we're buying into. If we want a relationship, maybe you're telling yourself, I'm not nice enough or lovable enough. Or if it's in regard to your career, maybe you're saying, I'm lazy or I'm not dedicated enough. Whatever the excuse is that you're saying, we need to bring it into your consciousness. Because this is what happens on an unconscious level, is that when you have these excuses and you kind of hear them whispering in the background, sometimes they're louder, what happens is you start this unconscious fight. You want to prove that story wrong. And in doing so, what actually happens is you set forth to say, this isn't my story and I'm going to prove otherwise. But what you actually are doing is buying into that story. See, to prove it otherwise means you're fighting it, and a part of you believes it. And then what happens is, this is really key, you start looking for external proof to prove your story wrong. Because see, you believe in your story, so you need somebody else, something else, a paycheck, a raise, someone paying attention to you, someone saying they love you, to prove that story wrong. And that's what is going to keep you stuck. Where you need to be is that you don't buy into the story at all. And then you won't have there's nothing that you're fighting. Okay, but to get there, we don't just say, just get rid of the story, get rid of the excuse, don't buy into it. Although that's what a lot of self-help people are going to tell you to do, what I'm going to share with you will feel like the opposite, but this is what actually works to help move you. And this is it. I want you to consciously be the victim. Now, you might be saying, Michelle, why would I consciously want to be the victim? I've been the victim all along. I want to get rid of this. But I'm going to suggest that you haven't consciously been the victim. You have unconsciously heard these stories or subconsciously, and then you fought them. I'm saying permit yourself to be the victim, because once you do, it's a whole different ball game. You're not fighting. It's like, okay, I'm allowing myself this. And when you consciously allow yourself to be the victim, you will see how old and ridiculous and boring that story is. It reminds me of something, a lot of you don't know this, but I used to be a history teacher. That's right, I used to teach high school students in the inner city of Chicago about history. My passion and interest was really world religions, and I was always interested in the common themes that came up. And so I still have a passion for understanding the different religious subjects and what there is that is the teachings share with us and how we can learn and grow from them. Well, now is a time that's really important for both Judaism and Christianity. And what has struck me is the Christian story about Jesus. And soon there's going to be Easter, which is the celebration of his resurrection. A lot of times in Christianity, with Jesus being nailed to the cross, there is a lot of emphasis on him being the victim of those circumstances. And from my perspective of learning to understand what these teachings are truly about, is understanding that Jesus never saw himself as a victim. So even though the external circumstances would certainly suggest that he was a victim of this, he himself never thought of it that way. He had a moment where he thought he was forsaken. And so that's what I'm saying. Have your moment. Have your time to be the victim and lick your wound. But ultimately, Jesus did not see himself as the victim, which is why he was able to rise above. And see, that's what you will be able to do as well. You will be able to see the truth to that story and rise above it. And once you do that, you will create a new story. So as always, I wish you well on your journey at living consciously and living exceptionally well.